Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today with the launch of Season 2, obviously we got a lot of new content for MP, Warzone 2, and DMZ, including, of course, with the Battle Pass free for everyone, 2 brand new weapons. It's kind of an interesting selection this season. We've seen a handful of different ones released already so far this year, but this time around we got a brand new rifle in the form of the ISO HEMLOCK, and then also a new shotgun in the form of the KV Broadside. So now admittedly the HEMLOCK I think is the weapon that most players are going to focus on initially here. As we switch over to our gameplay screen, I've actually gone through and I've max leveled each of these, and so in this video I want to talk a bit about each of these guns, but also of course give you guys the best setups for multiplayer and Warzone as well, so you guys can dive into these once you've leveled them up. Frankly, pretty easy to, grind through these. Doesn't take too much leveling, especially if you're doing well, dropping streaks and whatnot. They'll rank up pretty quickly. But the HEMLOCK, like I said, I think is the weapon that most players are going to lean towards. One, because it's a rifle, it's going to be more universally used, and then also just because the shotguns in this game are so low impact. In multiplayer, obviously everything kills so fast that yes, the HEMLOCK is able to do well for a shotgun close range. It also has decently significant range. I was getting like some 20-25 meter long shots, but it was taking 3, 4, 5 shots depending on the enemies exactly, right? So it's all right. It's nothing crazy though. And then in Warzone, when you factor in the increased health, especially now the fact that everyone has 3 plates by default, I don't see this as a gun that's going to thrive. It's going to be totally usable, and it's going to be very annoying close range because yes, it is a shotgun, but this is by no means going to be a top tier meta choice. The HEMLOCK, on the contrary, I feel like is going to be definitely top tier, maybe not like absolute meta in multiplayer, but top tier for sure. And then in Warzone, it's going to be competitive, I would say, mainly because the HEMLOCK feels like it is a mid-range gun at best. Long range, even in multiplayer, I noticed that it did not feel super consistent. And then same deal in Warzone when I was testing it out, because of long range fights and that increased health, it didn't feel as consistent. Maybe that'll change as we learn more about the exact stats here and as we see any potential secret changes that came to light with some of the attachments in play. But just, basis testing in game, it felt pretty solid, close to mid-range, decent, mediocre, I would say, for long range, and that's across the board, more so highlighted in Warzone. But let's talk class setups here. First, initially, I want to go over the broadside, because this, if you want to use it in multiplayer or in Warzone, is going to have the same setup because you're using it in the exact same scenarios. So this is what I've been running here. Yes, you do want to max level this so you can get the tuning properties, which of course I'll throw on the screen here. But first up, I've got the True Tack rear grip. This is going to be for that better sprint to fire and better ADS, which obviously you want those mobility properties on a shotgun. You want to be able to bridge the gap there for those close range fights. And I tune for the better ADS and sprint to fire here as is. You'll notice that I am using the canted lasers. So I like this because it's not a full on ADS, but it's like the ADS property there. You can still hip fire with it as well. Obviously, it being a shotgun, you want to have a good mix of each of those. So canted laser just works fine. Now, you don't have to run this. You could always drop the laser for, a magazine here. It has 7 rounds by default, which is good in multiplayer for 1 to 2 kills. In Warzone, probably 1 kill with that reload. It's not too slow. It's also not crazy fast, but the 12 round I felt like slowed you down a ton, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. You could also go crazy with the 25 round drum if you wanted to. I probably wouldn't recommend that though. 7 was sufficient at least. But canted laser, you can actually tune these now for what it's worth. So I tune again for the better sprint to fire and ADS there. I also go for the VOK stockless option here for the better sprint to fire, movement speed, hip fire, recoil control, and ADS, just really capitalizing on everything you want the shotgun to do well here. You can't actually tune that though for what it's worth. And then I was running a barrel here. The range 12 I feel like is the better of all these selections. Better damage range, better velocity. The velocity is not a huge deal, but it's just on there, but also better hip fire accuracy. So range and hip fire is what matters the most there. I tune for the better aim walking speed in case you are ADS or canted ADS there. You'll have a slightly better strafe. Then also the better damage range as well. You could always enjoy getting that out of a shotgun. And then I also go for the Bryson improved choke, tighter pellet spread, better damage range as well. I tune for even better damage range, then a slightly faster sprint to fire as well. So really just trying to highlight mobility while also helping the range at the same time. There is something particular about this shotgun that if you followed me on Twitter, you might have seen already. If you go into the underbarrels and scroll all the way to the end, you might notice that yes, in fact, you can put a underbarrel shotgun on your shotgun. That's a thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but it's utterly hilarious. So if you want to mess around, you could double up on your shotguns on one shotgun. Yeah, it exists. Now let's focus on the Hemlock. We obviously have two different setups here, one for multiplayer and then one for Warzone that we'll break down. As we get into this, just a quick reminder, if you guys are new to the channel, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, news, updates, loadouts, tips, everything like that is right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button to always stay up to date. And if you guys enjoy the video, if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it as well. And quick shout out to my friends over at Gamer Advantage. You guys, of course, always see me rocking the frames. They're on all day, every day, especially days like this where I am creating content and gaming for like 12 plus hours because of the new seasonal stuff. I'm able to do that stress-free without any worry of eye strain, headaches because of these things. And when I get off tonight and go to bed, I know I'm going to sleep well because of these as well. I can wake up feeling nice and refreshed tomorrow to do it all over again and continue the grind. So if you guys want to get a pair for yourself, code Immortal at checkout gets you a nice little discount there. Anyways, let's focus on the multiplayer setup here for the Hemlock. Again, this is kind of focused on close to mid-range while still maintaining some good control properties as well. So initially here I got the X10 grip, better ADS and sprint to fire, and I tuned for the offset here, so for better stability and recoil, and I basically get like everything out of this one attachment, mobility and control all in one. I also go for the Res 2 stock. This is going to be for better aim walking speed, so better strafe speed, and then also better sprint speed. I'm mainly going for this because it doesn't hurt your stability at all. Recoil on this is relatively low, especially with the setup that I've got here, so I don't feel like you need an underbarrel or a muzzle that's going to slow you down with your ADS and your other stuff there. I go for the blue dot sight, aka the Chrono Mini Pro, tuned for that furthest eye position, slightly faster ADS, nothing out of the ordinary there. Olay laser for the faster ADS and sprint to fire, and again you can now tune this, so I go for the better steadiness and idle stability. You could also though go the other way if you wanted to in both directions, and that'd be sufficient as well. And then lastly I go for the 3056 barrel. This is for better range and velocity. It doesn't offer control, but you can tune for the better steadiness and get some better range out of that, and so this is still nice and snappy, good for close to mid-range especially. Long range though also somewhat capable. The TTK just doesn't feel all that impressive as of right now. And then let's talk the Warzone setup, which obviously is a little bit different because there are more mid to long range fights in Warzone just by default here. So initially I do change optics. I go for the AIMOP V4. Again, we're tuning this for that furthest eye position in ADS though, but this is a little bit more confident for me when it comes to mid range and long range than just a basic blue dot. 45 round mag, I mean, you gotta run it for those duo, trio, and squad engagements, or quad engagements, I should say, so you do have to waste an attachment on that magazine, and 45 is as large as it gets, which is a bit unfortunate. I also go for the Edge underbarrel, basically giving you the same properties as the Ripper, but with less cons. I tune this for idle stability and better recoil stabilization, making it even easier to shoot. And on that same trend, I go for the Sack and Tread 40 as well. Better gun kick control and recoil stabilization on top of the better control in general from this. Really going to be shooting just very straight, super easy to track and trace enemies with this. And that'll help out a lot long range, because while the TTK is, you know, not as good over range, because you're going to land shots quicker and more efficiently with a setup like this, it'll still be close in realistic TTK to some other weapons that might hit a bit harder. And then lastly, again, I go for the 3056 barrel just for the same reasons, especially because we're getting so much control elsewhere. We can run this without much worry of missing out on any bonus control that some other barrels might offer. Better range, better recoil steadiness on this tune as well. So Hemlock, certainly, you know, competitive across the board. The Broadside, it's a shotgun and it's decent at being a shotgun, but nothing crazy. That being said, those are the best setups and loadouts for our two new weapons so far. We'll of course be covering the mid-season weapons and the general meta update and best loadouts for Resurgence, basic battle royale in general, and multiplayer here in the coming days. So stay tuned for all of those loadouts and class setups coming soon. But if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button so you always know what's going on in the world of COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.